Welcome to Bullet Points. I'm Bullet, and this is where we talk about life, business, technology, relationships, success, and failure, and whatever else has me thinking. I'm not here to tell you I'm always right. I'm here to start a conversation and maybe make you see things from a different perspective.
If this is your first time listening, this podcast is all about real conversations and practical lessons that help us grow. Today's topic is something that every single one of us has experienced, even if we don't like to talk about it. And that's failure. We spend so much of our lives chasing success that we forget that failure has just as much to teach us. So today, let's talk about what failure really looks like and what it teaches us and why it actually might be one of life's greatest gifts. When we fail, our first reaction is usually embarrassment, frustration, or disappointment. We start asking ourselves questions like, am I good enough? Should I even keep trying? Maybe this isn't meant for me. But failure isn't the final answer. It's feedback. It's showing us where we need to grow, where we need patience, and sometimes where we need to change direction. Failure doesn't define who you are. It develops who you're becoming. So 6 years ago, my best friend and I started a business. It was a great idea until it wasn't. We started planning around 2018. It was a mobile oil change business, and our slogan was, "We come to you for a change." We were selling convenience. We source our vendors from who we would buy our oil, the parts, and then eventually who would supply the equipment for the van that we were looking at. So once we got everything together, we started by word of mouth. We were able to get a couple of people. We would go to their homes and service their cars. Again, we were selling convenience. Then we went into a couple of businesses and introduced ourselves. We explained the business, and we were able to get a couple of small fleet accounts, just companies that had, a lot of cars that needed service. Then eventually that got us into Amazon, and then eventually we went after FedEx. So everything was moving along great. Everything was, we were excited. This thing was just taking off. And because of Amazon, that's where we ended up going after Enterprise. So Enterprise was providing the rental vans to Amazon because they didn't have enough vans at FedEx, or at Amazon, to be able to continue the routes. So that's where Enterprise would come in. So there was a whole different program for Enterprise, and we did everything we could to join it. And that meant that it was more cost because insurance was more expensive just to be in that program, and everything else just was more expensive, everything that they required. And pretty much at this point, we knew that we didn't have the capital to keep this account going. We put all our time and effort, all our money, and unfortunately, we could not keep up. Despite all our attempts to keep this thing going, I had an imaginary line that I knew that I couldn't cross, which was making sure that I didn't lose my home, my cars, and my marriage. As much as I tried, I knew I had to make a tough decision of stepping out before I would lose everything. Knowing very well that this could cost me my friendship. At this point, I doubted myself. I felt embarrassed. I felt like a complete failure. All this was happening right around around the COVID time. And I've always been a really social person. Everybody that knows me that I'm very cheerful. I like to joke around. But my family, my friends, and even my neighbors could tell I was not okay. I honestly didn't know how I was going to get out of this. The bills were piling up. The debt collectors were calling constantly. I was not emotionally capable to keep moving forward, and my mental state was completely on the floor. What hurt the most wasn't the failure itself, but it was really believing that I wasn't capable. Looking back now, I realized this experience taught me a lesson, and I couldn't have learned that from success. During my darkest moments, I learned to focus on helping others. This failure taught me resilience, taught me humility, taught me patience. Most importantly, it taught me to keep moving forward even when I didn't feel comfortable. Anyone can celebrate when things are going well, but character is built when things are not going well. Failure teaches us discipline, teaches us consistency, it teaches us courage. Because getting back up when you've been knocked down takes a whole different kind of strength. Think about it. People we admire aren't people who have never failed. They are people who refuse to let failure have the final word. What if failure isn't proof that you're losing? What if it's proof that you're trying? Every entrepreneur, every athlete, every artist, every creator, every successful person has failed, probably more times than we realize. The difference is that they kept learning instead of quitting. The goal isn't to avoid failure, but to grow through it. If you're listening today and you've been carrying the weight of a recent failure, I want you to remember this. Failure is just an event. It's not your identity. Where you are today doesn't determine what you'll be tomorrow. Keep showing up, keep learning, keep believing in yourself. Your next opportunity might only exist because of the lessons that you're learning right now.
If today's episode made you think, share it with someone who would enjoy the conversation. I'll catch you next time on Bullet Points.